Hey guys, welcome to our weekly community AMA. Got a huge one for you guys today. Been cooking so hard, I figured I had to throw on the chef's hat for this AMA. Let's get into it. Crypto Mischief, what's up, buddy? Oh, you can always watch it back. We're gonna have a real packed AMA today. Yeah, but having said that, there's a ton to go over, so let's jump right into it. I'm going to start by talking about what's coming. You can see right now I'm looking at the Blue website. I have not pushed the latest updates live. I just want to talk about it real quick first, and then I'll just push the updates live, and then we'll kind of continue going on with what's coming for Blue. So Blue, huge new utility, huge new audience for Blue. So basically what's happening is we've made GBlue bridgeable to abstract network. What that's going to let us do is, for one, that's going to open up Blue to a whole new ecosystem and audience. As you guys probably know, Aborian is on abstract, and GBlue is already fully set up in Aborian. It's been whitelisted. It's got an incentivized gauge. I'm going to go over all this stuff in detail a bit later in the AMA just to kind of explain what all that means and what you can do with it and how you can earn with it. But first, let's just start with Blue. Let me push those web updates live right now, and we'll go over what's changing directly with Blue and how to bridge. Let me push that live right now. All right, that should be updated shortly. So essentially, there's a couple things that I've got to explain just for this to all make sense. I know a lot of people are going to be watching this AMA back, so I'm going to go over some stuff in detail just to kind of cover all of our bases. But for those that aren't familiar, GBlue is wrapped staked Blue. So what that means is that basically to get GBlue, you need to take Blue and you need to stake it. So you can do that on the stake page, right? So you take 5 Blue, for example, stake it, you get 5 Blue. And then where the magic happens is with GBlue. So with GBlue, if you take your 5 staked Blue, you can see I'm only going to get 0.45 GBlue, because the way that GBlue works is it's earning rebases every 4 hours, just like staked Blue. But with staked Blue, your balance actually increases. With GBlue, your balance doesn't change, but the index, so how much Blue your GBlue is worth, that's what changes every 4 hours. So you could actually see right here that the GBlue index right now is just shy of 11. So that puts the GBlue price at 720 almost. So essentially what that allows us to do is that allows us to make GBlue bridgeable to other chains. And now you can use that GBlue to earn on other chains and still be receiving 100% of the compounds as if you were on BNB chain. So again, let me repeat that. Dual stack rewards. So you can take your GBlue, bridge it to abstract, earn on abstract with your GBlue without sacrificing any of your compounds. You still get all the same compounds as if you were on BNB chain. Let's see if this updated yet. Yep, there we go. So you can see a couple updates to the site here. GBlue Bridge Live. You can see it's now showing my balance. It's showing my GBlue on BNB chain. It's showing my GBlue on abstract. You can pop over to the bridge page. So this is showing you that you can bridge from BNB to abstract, or you can hit this button to go from abstract to BNB. This is all secured by Layer 0. So this is 100% battle tested, proven bridging solution. Every GBlue that's on abstract has a 1-to-1 copy, or basically the exact same amount of GBlue that's on abstract will be held in the bridge contract on BNB chain. So basically, like every GBlue on abstract, like GBlue doesn't get minted on abstract unless GBlue got bridged over to abstract, which means that it's being held in the bridge. So 100% of the GBlue on abstract will always be bridgeable back to BNB chain, essentially. So it's a very tried and tested bridge solution. The reason that we actually went with Layer 0 instead of, typically in the past we've used Axelar for bridging, but Axelar, as far as I know, doesn't support abstract yet. So we're using Layer 0. It's a very similar type of solution. So let's talk about how you can earn. Actually, let's talk real quick before I do that. Just because of everything that all the new stuff that we're announcing today and releasing, this should have a really positive impact on the price. So because of that, what I've done is I've also gone ahead and, separate from all the alpha that I'm kind of announcing and going to talk about today, I've also gone ahead and added a new bond market. So just so that the protocol is able to pair up, G Blue with ETH, I've added an ETH bond market so that the treasury can accumulate ETH. This is going to run for 50 days, I believe I said it for. It's going to run until February 1st. So yeah, about 2 months. And there's 100,000 blue in here. So this is going to build up a ton of protocol-owned ETH, which we can then take that over to Abstract, and the protocol can then earn on that liquidity as well to strengthen the treasury and be able to, utilize those funds for either just building the treasury up or for marketing or, potentially buybacks, or, we'll explore that in the future. But either way, strengthening the treasury is always a very beneficial thing. So yeah, feel free to take advantage of that. That's already live on the website now. I put the vesting period a little bit shorter just because it's a single asset that you're bonding. So the vesting period is slightly shorter, and that's you're going to be able to claim G Blue out from the bond, which then you could bridge right over to Abstract. So let's let me see, make sure I didn't miss anything about Blue before I start talking about what you can do with G Blue over on Abstract. So essentially, for the in terms of strictly Blue and the Blue website and website updates, pretty much you got the bridge. I can just demo how to do this. For example, I want to put 10 G Blue over to Abstract. First, I approve it. And it's pretty quick too. So let's see how long this takes. So I've got 155 G Blue on Abstract already. Let's see when that jumps up to 165. So I just submitted that. Bridge confirmed, layer 0 message accepted. Funds will land shortly. So let's refresh. Probably take about a minute or so. So there's a lot of different ways that you can earn on Abstract with G Blue. So G Blue has a ton of new use cases over on Abstract. The first and most basic one is going to be arbitrage opportunities. So, okay, you can see my G Blue balances increased by 10 there. So you can see here, it's showing G Blue on BNB chain. So this is the price of G Blue if you were to buy it, if you were to buy Blue and then basically convert it over to G Blue on BNB chain. We already have a liquidity pair set up on, one second. We already have a liquidity pair set up on Aborian. I'm going to be showing you guys all that in depth in a second, but you can see right now, when I set this up, the Blue price was a little bit lower. So the price of G Blue on Abstract is a little bit less. So there's already an opportunity to, basically the way that you would arbitrage this is you would go on Aborian and you would buy G Blue at a discount because it's only $5.93 on Aborian. I'm going to show you guys all this in detail in a second. But then you could bridge that G Blue over to BNB chain where it's worth, $1.30 more. And you basically make $1.30 on every single G Blue there, just by arbitraging. So that's not the main way that you're going to make money. But I mean, anytime that you do notice a difference in price between G Blue on BNB and G Blue on Abstract, you certainly can take advantage. Keep in mind that we will have much thicker liquidity on Abstract in the future. So right now, we've only got a couple $1,000 in the liquidity pair. So you're not going to make a ton of money arbitraging this right now, just because it doesn't take a big buy on Abstract to really move the price with the small current liquidity. But there is still a small opportunity there. In the future, once the liquidity is much bigger on Abstract, there would be a lot of money to be made if there's ever this big of a difference in price between the two chains. So that's one way that you can make money with this new setup. Now let's dive into Aborian. There's a lot that I got to explain about this. There's a lot of different ways that you can make money through Aborian with G Blue. So let's start with, I guess, the basics. The basics would be you take your G Blue, you pair it with ETH, and essentially this is just a regular V2 style pair. I actually am, so Aborian has the ability to custom set fees. I didn't do it yet, but I'm very likely going to increase the trading fee. So even though this is V2, where typically V2 fees are set and fixed, we actually have the ability to custom set fees on the pair. So I think it'd probably make more sense to have the fee be a little bit higher on this. And I'll get into what that is going to, how that impacts everything in a minute. So for anyone that's not familiar with like how this style of DEX works and kind of like the whole flow of tokens and rewards, I'm going to just explain that all pretty quickly here. So in your traditional DEX, you provide liquidity and then you earn trading fees. You can do that on Aborian, but there's another whole flywheel and system that you can use that's preferable to use that I'm going to kind of go over with you guys all right now. Where to start? So essentially, when you add liquidity, let's go and do that right now. So first, for adding liquidity here, you're going to want to switch this to basic, and you're going to want to go to G Blue. So it's ETH, G Blue, basic, volatile. That's pretty much exactly what you want. And I don't have much ETH in this wallet, so I can't really demo too much, but let's add a tiny bit of liquidity here. So when I add liquidity on Aborian, right after I create this, I haven't staked it. So because I've just created liquidity and it's just sitting in my wallet, I'm going to earn trading fees on that. But what you want to do with Aborian is you want to take that and you want to stake it. So you can see here that my position is 98% staked because I just made that tiny little bit of extra position. Actually, you can see right here. So what you want to do with Aborian is you want to make your LP and you want to stake it. And what that does is you give up the trading fees, but instead of getting trading fees, oops, I think I clicked that twice. There we go. Instead of getting trading fees, you're earning ABX emissions. And this is how like G Blue ties in with Aborian super well, because, you know, for anyone that's been around for a while, you guys know that blue stakers received a VE ABX airdrop, which is locked ABX tokens. So now that I've kind of demoed like how the liquidity adding works, I'm just going to show you. So basically, Aborian works on an epoch system. Screen is a little small and hard to see. Okay, so let me fix that. So basically the way that this works is the more votes that we get on the G Blue pair, the more emissions are going to be next epoch. Epochs are Thursday to Thursday. So we just actually had the epoch flip just like, I don't know, like 12 hours ago or something like that, or maybe like 18 hours ago. Thursday at like 0000 UTC. Well, actually, I guess that'd be 18 hours ago just because we start the AMA at 1800 UTC. So yeah, 18 hours ago, we had the epoch flip. So basically, I put a couple 100,000 of my own votes into the G Blue voting before the epoch flipped. So there's a little bit of rewards on the G Blue ETH pair at the moment. But what we need to do as a community is we need to get as much votes on this as possible. And that will increase the emissions on the G Blue ETH pair so that next week, starting Thursday at 0000 UTC, there can be huge emissions on the G Blue pair. And what that's going to do is that's going to make people want to buy G Blue in order to farm the LP. So that opens us up to, you know, pretty much anyone that's an Aborian user. They're going to start getting involved with G Blue. And there's a lot of different things that our users can do with G Blue on Aborian. And there's a lot of different things that Aborian users or just abstract users or really anyone can start to do stuff with Blue because of the integration that we have here. So there's so much that you can do. I'm not sure what order to kind of show you guys. So I'm just going to kind of go like one by one. And if anything's not clear, if I miss anything, definitely let me know and I'll be happy to go over stuff again. But I guess the whole cycle kind of starts with rewards on the voting gauge, right? So just to kind of explain this quick, the first column you see here is fees. So because I just created this pair, there was basically no fees in the last week. So all the trading activity that happens this week, that's going to show up here next week and be available for voters to claim as a reward. So this is going to incentivize people to vote with their locked ABX in order to get more emissions on the G Blue pair. So that's what. So basically, this is how we encourage people like our own community and just random people that use Aborian that have locked ABX. This is how we encourage them to vote on the G Blue pair to get high emissions on G Blue, is by, basically they get the trading fees and they get incentives. Incentives are basically it's a bribe system where we can, I've already basically put 200 G Blue, and the protocol Aborian matched that with 90,000 ABX. So we've got $2,340 worth of incentives that are going to be paid out to everyone who votes on this during this week. So basically that gets paid out at like Thursday, at the beginning of Thursday next week. So this is already set up really well, considering that there's no trading fees because we just launched. But the incentives are there that, I had 200,000 votes on this yesterday, and we've already gotten another 250,000 just with these incentives. And like as a community, I'd strongly suggest you guys to, if you have ABX, lock it up and vote on the gauge. And if you got airdropped VE ABX, this is a great use for that VE ABX to vote on this gauge. And if you decide, if you're staking your LP and earning ABX, I'd strongly suggest, especially at these ABX price levels, that it makes a lot more sense to lock up your ABX and be able to earn passive income every week for eternity, essentially, by locking your ABX up. Also worth mentioning that Aborian is running a promotion right now where you get a 70% rebate on all the ABX that you lock. So if you lock up 100,000 ABX, you're going to get 70,000 ABX back next epoch, near the beginning of the epoch, right? So you're getting almost double the value out of your ABX, and that's going to be going on for another couple weeks. So definitely a great time to lock up ABX to benefit the Blue community and to earn passive income in perpetuity. Right? You can change your vote every week. You can kind of switch up how you're voting. And right now, the G Blue pair is by far the highest paying pair to vote on. As more votes come into this, that APR is going to drop down. But for example, like next week, next epoch, there's going to be a bunch of trading fees here, and we'll also add more incentives. So it's going to give people all the more reason to keep laying down their votes heavily on this pair. So that's basically the first aspect of the cycle, is that, we basically have G Blue whitelisted. So if you guys want to help, what you can do is, and again, this is only if you really want to help get things kick-started, you can bridge some G Blue over to Abstract or buy G Blue on Abstract. And you can, again, this is not something that's going to earn you money directly, but you can help out the protocol by adding a little bit of incentives if you want, right? So this is the ETH G Blue pair. You can say, okay, I want to add 50 G Blue. This is going to increase the rewards that voters receive, which is going to drive a lot more people to vote on the pair, which is in turn going to increase the emissions on the pair. I'm locked in at VE ABX Maxi Vol. I think that one gets you the best returns, or is WETH G Blue better? So, this is going to be something that changes on a week-to-week basis. The VE ABX Maxi is a really powerful, just so for anyone that's not familiar with what's being referred to there. So when you have a lock, you basically just make a lock. This wallet that I'm using is just the Blue deployer. It doesn't happen to have any ABX or any locks. I got those on other wallets, but so basically once you lock up some ABX, you can then take that lock and you can vote on stuff yourself, or you can deposit it into a vault where our strategies automatically vote optimally for you and maximize your returns. Plus, there is another bonus going on right now where there's 100% bonus APR that's provided to the VE ABX Maxi. So So to answer your question though, for strictly growing the size of your VE ABX position, there's really not any better way to do that than the VE ABX Maxi right here. But having said that, just because, we're looking to, so a couple things to take into consideration here. The ETH G Blue pair is paying a lot higher right now than the VE ABX Maxi, but you can anticipate a lot more votes getting laid down on this. Like already there was another like 400,000 votes just since I looked at this last, right? So this APR is probably going to drop down closer to like what the other stuff is paying, like probably. So, I mean, I think that for right now, as a part of the community, it probably is more beneficial to get your votes on the G Blue pair. But in general, if you're looking to grow your VE ABX, then the Maxi Vault is a really good way to do that. Hope that answered your question. So yeah, so basically the goal is to really get as much, as many votes on this pair as possible. For example, if we can get this up to like, well, there's like almost 400 million total VE ABX that's voting. So I mean, the higher we can get these votes, the better off it's going to be. The higher percentage of weekly ABX emissions are going to flow to that pair. So yeah, that's how voting works. So again, just to reiterate, I strongly suggest you guys, especially with the current ABX price, it looks like it probably has bottomed. The price is really, really good right now, and all the metrics are looking super strong for ABX. So I would definitely suggest if you're farming ABX that you take that and you lock it up after and use that to vote further and create passive income stream for yourself. And yeah, especially with the promotions that are going on with ABX as well, in terms of getting like a bonus locked ABX and being able to benefit the G Blue token and protocol. Makes a lot of sense to get those ABX locked up. But yeah, that's does anybody have any questions so far about how that all works? So, and again, guys, I need to really make this clear that there wasn't a ton of votes that were put on this prior to the epoch flipping last night. So, right now it's paying 180% APR, but that's because there's only 2.5K in the LP. So, you should anticipate that the APR this week is going to drop quite a bit as more funds flow into the pair. But what we're setting up for, and I need the community to help with this, is we're setting up to have a huge APR starting next week. And again, that's going to happen with the votes. We already have 4 times as many votes now as we had when the epoch flipped. So already the APR would be 4 times higher just from what we've received already. And you can see that based on the APR here, even if we get 10 times the amount of votes, so we get up to 8 million votes, we're still going to have a pretty high APR here. So I think realistically, we can get this up to 10 million votes, 10 to 15 million votes, which is going to be a massive increase on the APR. And this creates a cycle, right? Like if the more of us that are farming ABX and taking that and locking it and being willing to take that locked ABX and vote on the G Blue pair, we're then increasing the emissions even more on that, which is going to encourage more people to start farming that pair, buying G Blue, whether they want to buy it on Abstract or they want to buy it on BNB and bridge it over, doesn't matter. But ultimately, it's ultimately just a lot of new things that you guys can use your G Blue for. You can use it for bribes. You can use it for farming the LP. You can, earn ABX and take that ABX and use that to vote on the G Blue pair. There's just so much that you guys can do now. And again, remember, your G Blue is always earning compounds. So every 4 hours, your G Blue is worth more blue. It doesn't matter what network it's on. The bridge is trustworthy. Any G Blue on Abstract, 100% with certainty can always be bridged back to BNB chain. We got huge liquidity on BNB chain, and let's work together to get that liquidity up on Abstract. And yeah, that's gonna it's gonna make a lot more opportunities for arbitrage, because I'm sure a lot of guys on Abstract will just want to maybe zap into the pair to farm, or they just want to buy it on Abstract to start farming it. So I think there's going to be quite a bit of action on Abstract, which is going to make the prices deviate from BNB chain to Abstract. So this is where you guys that are, seasoned in DeFi, you guys can take advantage of that, any price difference between Abstract and BNB chain, and arbitrage that price a little bit. Something else that's pretty important is I would suggest using relay.link to get funds over to Abstract easily. I'll post that in the chat for you guys. So relay.link, you can use this to get basically any major asset from BNB, from really any chain over to Abstract, like any major chain. So you can, convert BNB to Abstract ETH if you want in a single transaction. It takes only a couple of seconds and your funds will be there. Fees are pretty reasonable there too. So I would definitely suggest using relay.link for all your non-GBlue bridging needs. Remember, if you want to bridge GBlue between chains, you're going to want to use the bridge on the actual Blue website. And if you need to troubleshoot your bridge transaction for any reason, you can, open up this. You can see, there's my 3 bridge transactions. They were all delivered. So if you ever need to troubleshoot, why you haven't received your bridge yet, or, anything like that, you can always check the history right there. But yeah, I guess that's the majority of what I wanted to present to you guys. You guys have any questions, comments, or anything of the sort? I thought it was going to take a lot longer to explain everything, but I've kind of been able to get through most of what I wanted to talk about. There were some changes made to the buy page as well on the site. So I think there's some minor changes made to the GBlue page too. Well, for sure the buy page. So something else, I got rid of pro and simple mode. Now everything is pro mode. There's no simple mode anymore. True millions. Remember to hit the like button for the algorithm. Yeah, 100%. Like and subscribe. Share the knowledge. So on the buy page, if you switch over to Abstract chain, super convenient here. I got to add some more links here just to make it a little bit easier to trade GBlue and to get GBlue on Aborian. But essentially, if you're on Abstract Network, on the buy page, it's going to show you the GBlue price on Abstract and the GBlue value on BNB based on the index. So this is just a really convenient way to see if there's any arbitrage opportunities available at the moment. And it's also showing you that on the bridge page as well. So I'm not sure how well I explained everything, but I did kind of get everything out that I wanted to talk about. Anybody have any questions about like how this is going to impact different things, or? Question about book, would that go to Abstract as well? Then you could add that as an incentive to GBlue and vice versa. Yeah, so I mean, like let's take it one step at a time. I think GBlue is a pretty natural fit for Abstract just because of the fact that you can be earning on GBlue while it's on a different chain, and you can basically get dual layer rewards there, dual stack rewards. So I think that's pretty innovative. And as we all know, there's a lot of liquidity in the Blue book pair. So when Blue does well, it brings book up with it, and vice versa. So I think that this is going to be really beneficial for book. But yeah, I mean, if we can get some good traction on GBlue on Abstract, then I mean, yeah, I don't see why we couldn't bring a book over there as well. And yeah, I mean, if any token that's whitelisted, so if we were to bring book there, and we were to whitelist book, then you would be able to use GBlue as an incentive for the book pair, or book as an incentive for the GBlue pair, or anything like that. Another vote submitted for ETH GBlue. Awesome, man. Can you do a bit more tutorial on Abstract, the DEX, staking, etc.? Yep, definitely. So essentially, Aborian is a full-featured DEX, right? So Aborian has traditional V2 style LPs, which we refer to as basic volatile, or you could just think of that as like traditional V2. Doesn't apply to what we're doing, but we also have stable pools. So stable pools are like for something like USDC plus USDT. It's for like tightly correlated assets. So it basically just changes how the price curve works. It's intended to be used with like stable coins or like maybe like an ETH and a liquid staked ETH or stuff like that basically. So basically there's traditional V2, which it kind of says right in the description. Then there's the stable pool, which really doesn't apply to too much that we're doing. There's also concentrated liquidity, which you guys are probably familiar with as well. Our gauge though is on the V2 basic volatile. Actually, I'll show you guys a quicker way that you can get in there. So keep in mind, guys, if we need to get a lot of votes on the GBlue gauge, and then we're going to show up high in this list, right? Because it shows it by APR. Right now, we're at 180%, and that's just, again, because there wasn't very much votes on GBlue before the epoch flip. So we got this whole week to build up a lot of votes. But if you just click new deposit here, this will bring you right to the exact page to add liquidity, right? So this is going to bring you to basic volatile with the pair already selected. And yeah, here you could just go ahead and add whatever liquidity you want. And well, I don't have a lot of ETH in this wallet, but just so again, if I was going to add liquidity here, you can see verified gauge. So now I've added liquidity, but that liquidity is not staked at the moment, right? So again, I already had an existing position here. So the majority of my position is staked, 99% of it. But if this was my first position, it would just be unstaked, right? I'd have to stake it to start earning ABX rewards. So then, you just go here and you can stake as much or as little as you want. And again, with Aborian, when you stake your LP, you're basically giving up your trading fees in order to get ABX emissions instead. And the reason that that's so cool, or the reason that that's so important and kind of powers the whole flywheel, is that all the trading fees that are earned throughout this entire week are collected, and they will be here next epoch as rewards for people to vote on GBlue. So the more activity that we get on that token, the more swap activity that we get, the more fees it generates, and that further boosts how much it's going to pay people to vote on the pair in the gauge. Hope that makes sense. Right? So people voting on this pair, they get paid from a combination of trading fees and incentives. So like if you look, for example, at like the top rewarded one, there was like $16,000 in trading fees, right? So there's been no incentives added to this yet. So, $16,000 gets distributed to everybody that votes on this. For us, we don't have nearly as many votes. That's why our APR is so much higher, but we have like $2,300 worth of rewards that are going to go to all the voters, right? And again, I showed you guys, like, if you guys want to contribute to make this, the amount of rewards higher, again, you don't personally get anything in return for doing this. You're kind of just helping the protocol, but you can go to incentives and you can grab the GBlue pair. Probably easier to just pick it up here. And you can see here, there's a bunch of incentives already, but you can add an incentive here, and you can use ABX, you can use a stablecoin, you can use ETH, you can use GBlue. And yeah, this is going to basically encourage more people to vote on the pair, which is going to get more emissions onto the pair so that GBlue LP providers can earn more next week. And again, I mentioned earlier, but probably going to get this fee increased a little bit just to increase the fee generation, which will just help on an ongoing basis being able to, attract more voters to the pair. Any new promotions to get the word out on this new utility? Yep, we got tons coming up for that. I mean, this is something that I put together fairly quick. So, we have this whole week to kind of build up that voting power, get incentives in, and yeah, the real fun is going to start next week when those emissions are factoring in all the votes that we can gather this week. So again, we're up to 900,000 votes, and I think that we can easily get this up to 10 million or so. And that'll be amazing getting this to 10 million. Because again, remember guys, the the APR that's paying right now, this is only based on 200,000 votes. We're already up to 900,000 now for next epoch. And if we can do 10 million, 10 million is what, 50x more emissions than what we're going to be paying out for this epoch, right? And I think 10 million votes is something that's pretty realistic that we can get to. So basically, just to take that into consideration, for anyone that starts farming this pair this week, just remember that the APR is going to jump really hard Thursday next week. So you might not be earning like crazy this week, especially if a lot of funds flow into the pair, but you're basically just setting up your position to be ready for next week when the emissions really jump up. Hope that makes sense. Is there any other aspect of Aborian that's not crystal clear? I know it's a lot to take in, and I'm so familiar with it. I deal with it every day that I'm probably skipping over some important aspects that maybe you guys need to know. But yeah, again, the quick way to make the new liquidity pairs, you can just go to new deposit here. Remember, use relay.link to get Ethereum or any other coin over to Abstract. It can convert BNB to Abstract Ethereum, or it can convert pretty much anything. For GBlue, you want to use the Blue BNB website. You want to go to the bridge. You'll notice the menu items change a little bit depending on which chain you're on. You don't really need to use this change chain button. If you just go to bridge, it's going to default to BNB to Abstract, and it's going to change your chain automatically when you switch the direction of the bridge. Although, you could switch chain up here if you want to. But yeah, that's how that all works. So I guess let's, well, firstly, if anybody has any questions or clarification needed, then I got a question. Can I convert GBlue to SBlue and still have GBlue on Abstract? No. So any GBlue that exists on Abstract has to get bridged from BNB chain. So what you want to do on BNB chain, if you already have GBlue, you can use that to bridge over to Abstract, right? Then the GBlue on BNB chain, it gets locked up in the bridge contract until someone bridges back from Abstract to BNB chain. The whole SBlue thing is just basically like the intermediary. To get from blue to GBlue, you got to go blue to SBlue to GBlue if you're on BNB chain, right? Because GBlue and SBlue are essentially the same thing. They just calculate your rewards in a different fashion, which is what allows GBlue to kind of be bridgeable. Like, so essentially, like if you bridge your GBlue over to Abstract, you no longer have it on BNB chain to be able to convert, right? I guess like to try to directly answer your question. Can you go over vote increase? Was it by ABX and lock it? Yeah. So great question. So let's go over like the call to actions for the community, like what everybody should be doing. So what you want to be doing is, for one, this is insanely bullish. You want to have as much blue exposure as you can get. And you can do that by either buying it on BNB chain as blue or buying GBlue on Abstract with any Abstract token. So again, GBlue right now is 593. That's a discount to what it would cost to buy blue and wrap it on BNB chain. So what you would do is use something like relay.link to get some funds over to Abstract, and then you can, just do a swap for GBlue. I don't know why that shows up twice. Gotta check that out. Right. So you can basically swap. So this is like the best way to get GBlue when GBlue is cheaper. And then from there, so what we want to do as a community is we want to be building up GBlue ETH liquidity. And again, keep in mind, guys, it's not going to pay crazy high this week. The real good rewards are going to start next week. But because of the price action that we're going to anticipate on blue, you probably want to make that pair sooner than later, just so that, if for example, if blue does a 10x, you're going to need 10 times as much ETH to pair it up with your blue, right? So you might want to take that into consideration and maybe, get your pair set up as soon as you can. And also that just helps to build the liquidity on on Abstract so that it just makes the token more liquid and able to be, it lets guys enter and exit on Abstract without necessarily having to bridge. So let's try to build up the liquidity in that pair as much as we can. And just to directly answer Kev's question, what you want to do is you want to have as much VE ABX as possible. So the way that you get that is you either buy ABX right here, right? You can buy as much as you want. There's tons of liquidity on ABX. And so you can buy ABX. You might have received a VE ABX airdrop. In that case, you can obviously use that VE ABX. Really important to keep in mind, though, any lock that you create, you're going to get a 70% refund back of additional locked ABX. So it's like a really great time to lock up new ABX. So once you have ABX in your wallet, you can just go create lock. And again, if you make a lock with 100,000 ABX, again, make sure you lock it for the full duration, though, because if you don't, you're not going to get the full rebate. So if you lock this for 4 years, if I do 100,000, I'm going to get 70,000 ABX as a bonus next week, right? So that's a temporary promotion that Aborian's running right now. So definitely a really great time to lock up ABX. Once you have locks, then you can go to the vote page and you can lay down your votes onto the ETH G Blue pair. So the way that you would do that is you would just select your lock and I can probably demo this. Let me grab one of these locks. So I'm just going to quickly set this to permanent. Just to, I guess, to quickly explain that. So your locks can be locked up to a maximum of 4 years. So right now what I have here is a lock that's locked for exactly 4 years. But that basically means that because it's 4 years, every day that passes, I'm getting a bit less voting power because it's not quite a full 4 years. So like if we didn't have this feature for permanent mode, you'd have to pretty much come in here every week and like extend the time lock, or else you're going to be missing out on some voting power. So what we have is this convenient, cool feature here where you can just permanently lock it, which is basically just going to keep your lock at the 4 years max voting power until you disable this mode, right? So basically, if this is how much ABX I have locked, that's how much voting power I'm going to have as long as this stays in permanent mode. So I don't have to worry about extending it or anything like that. And again, you can disable that whenever you want as well. So now that that's done, let's go use that. I'll show you guys how to vote. So I'm going to click on my lock here. I'm going to click on the gauge I want to vote for. And if you guys want, you could pick more than one. I'm just going to vote on just the blue one. So I'm going to put 100%, because I've only selected one gauge here. I'm going to put 100% on it, and I'm going to hit vote. So it's confirming that now. All right, that's done. So now if we refresh this, we should see another 100,000 votes on the G Blue. So you can see here it says 0 of 1 locks available. 1 already voted this epoch. So now we're up over 1 million votes. All right. And again, as more votes come in, this APR is going down. This is just kind of showing like if you bought ABX right now and locked it and voted, like what would your return for this week be if you kind of like extrapolated that out to a year? So, and again, we want to get these votes as high as we possibly can, because this is what determines exactly how much emissions are going to be on the G Blue ETH pair for LP providers. And that's really what's going to drive a lot of the G Blue buy pressure, is going to be the demand to want to farm ABX in the LP pair. Right. Hope that all makes sense. And you could have as many locks as you want, right? So, if you're, I think I'm actually farming with this wallet, I think a tiny position. Let's take a look. And again, guys, I got to keep reiterating the APR this week is just a fraction of what it's going to be next week. So you really want to get your positions set up. So I've got 81 ABX of rewards here on this tiny position I got. So I can just go ahead and claim that whenever I want. And that's pretty much how you're going to earn with ETH GBlue. I mean, on a side note, like I kind of already hinted towards this, but ABX I think is also a very strong buy here. You know, just based on its price and based on the metrics of the Aborian protocol, the fees that Aborian generates on a weekly basis, and all the promotions that are involved with locking ABX, and especially now with GBlue being deeply integrated into the Aborian and abstract ecosystem, I think it's a great time to be buying Blue, Book, and ABX. I already claimed that. Yep, so I already claimed that. So, I mean, I guess I'll show you guys how to make a lock now that I got a tiny bit of ABX in the wallet. So let's go 81 ABX. I'm going to drag this up. And it's as simple as that. So now I've got 81 ABX here that I can go ahead and go in here and vote. So, you know, I can take this, I can go vote on this. And the locks are really flexible, right? So you can merge locks together. So, you know, so if, for example, like I've already voted with this lock. So if I want to vote more, I've got to make a new lock. But next epoch, what I could do is I could merge the locks together. Once it's already voted, you're kind of restricted on what you can do in terms of merging and some of that stuff and like resetting votes and stuff. So, yeah, so I mean, if I wanted to get more votes down this epoch and I've already voted, I basically have to make new locks, and I can, you know, if I want to just clean up my locks later, I can merge them together. So, yeah, it's a very well thought out ecosystem here on Abstract. Aborian is really dominating the trading volume on Abstract, generating great fees, and very, very bullish on the protocol, and super pumped to have GBlue tightly integrated with Abstract and Aborian. So yeah, so now we just had a buy of GBlue. So now we've got an almost identical price on both chains. So now is an ideal time to, you know, get your GBlue over to Abstract, maybe, you know, help with the protocol a little bit by doing a little bit of, you know, incentives with your GBlue. Right, you can add a little bit of incentives here if you want to. And again, keep in mind that that's just helping the protocol. It's not going to get you anything personally in return. So, you know, only make sure you understand what you're doing if you're actually bribing here. But definitely everybody can help, and it's beneficial for yourself to vote on ETH GBlue. So let's get the votes up to 10 million this week, and you know, we're going to have, again, at about 10 million votes, the APR on ETH GBlue is going to be about 50x what it is right now, right? So like we had around 200,000 VE ABX of votes on the pair. So at 10 million, that's 50 times more emissions than what we currently have this week. And again, that's Thursday at 0000 UTC that you know, the epoch flips, and that's when the increased rewards will start being emitted. Yeah, the dashboard is where you can like see your liquidity positions, and you can see if you have voting rewards. Oh, so I actually have some rewards from something I voted on. Cool. Well, that must have been there for a while, because I was actually in the VE ABX Maxi Vault, so that must have been from a week or two ago. But anyways, so after you vote on the GBlue ETH pair, once Thursday rolls around next week, you're going to have rewards here, and that's like exactly what this 1000% APR. The rewards that you get from that will be on your dashboard next week. All right, you guys have any other questions or comments? Yeah, let's try and get that liquidity up, guys. We've got only 2.7K of liquidity there. That's just a little bit that I seeded it with. So let's try and get that up to 10, 20, 30K. I'm sure it's going to grow next week. No question about it once the big emissions are there. So how's the marketing campaign been going with Darcy? Any other influencers in the marketing pipeline? It's in the market conditions that we've been facing. I've been trying to keep the expenses, manageable. But, I think that the markets are turning around here. And I think that, what we've just announced, I think that's going to really spark things in a really strong way. So we're definitely going to be looking to explore how we can get more eyes on the projects and, really spread the word. And again, with this expansion to abstract chain, we have a whole new audience that we're going to be, targeting in order to get more users into the Blue ecosystem. But everything's been going well. Looking to accelerate things in the very near future. Anybody have any other questions or comments? Guess I'll withdraw this one too and throw that on the gauge. So 15,000. So that's how you vote. Yep. So again, sorry to keep repeating myself, but just to reiterate, so what we want to do is we want to build up liquidity. We want to build up GBlue ETH liquidity on Abstract, on Aborian. And you want to take that liquidity and you want to stake it. And you're going to be doing that to basically build the liquidity on Abstract and just be ready for when the huge emissions kick in next week. How do you unlock ABX? Well, if you have 4-year locked ABX or permanently locked ABX, you basically have to wait 4 years to unlock it. But there is a very active secondary market. You can sell your VE ABX position on OpenSea. So there's actually a really handy website you could use, veabx.nix.art. You can, again, that's veabx.nix.art, nix.art. But you can see here like all the VE-ABX that's listed on OpenSea. And you can see like there's strong demand for this on the secondary markets. It would only take $13,000 of buying for essentially there to be zero discount on the secondary market. So there's really not a whole bunch of VE-ABX available at a discount. But I mean, if you're really dying to get out of your locked ABX position, you could sell it on OpenSea. So for example, like just looking at this, like if you have a decent sized position and you put it at like a 40% discount, that'd probably sell pretty quickly. Just looking at the numbers here, right? Because I mean, there's one position for sale at a 45% discount, and then after that, the next is 37, right? So I can no longer see GBlue on Blue site next to Blue and SBlue. You probably don't have any balance then. I set it up so that it only shows GBlue if you have a balance of it, right? So if you don't, so for example, if you just see Blue and SBlue here, then you just should go convert some SBlue to GBlue, and then you'll see it here. That's how it should be working anyways. I mean, I've had G Blue in all of my wallets, so I haven't actually thoroughly like tested that, but I mean, that should be working how I just said. But if you really want to see if you have G Blue, you can also go to the G Blue page, and if you don't see anything here, though, that should mean that you just don't have any. It should mean that you just don't have any G Blue in your wallet if you don't see it here. Been with the project since July. Keep up the good work, bro. Well, thanks for your continued support, and yeah, cooking up hard over here, man. We're really prepping up for this market turnaround, and I think the markets are looking a lot stronger now, and that's definitely great news and great timing with this new massive opportunity and feature release. Anybody have any other questions or anything that you want to see explained a little bit better? Or well, we've already had quite a bit of blue purchase through the bonding market. So the bonding market, it's going to update. It updates prices every like couple hours. So you guys might have noticed, like on the blue book LP bond, that there was like a huge discount, and then like a ton of guys bought it, and the discount was still showing pretty big. But then like once that time interval passed where it recalibrated the price, then all of a sudden there was a big premium. So I mean, we just sold 5,000 blue out of 100,000 right on the first day. So I think if anybody wants to buy it at a big discount, you better do it quick, because once I think it's every 2 hours it does it recalibrates the price. So the discount's probably going to shrink quite a bit when that recalibrates. It's a really nice algorithm how that all works. It just, I think I've explained this before, but it basically just looks at like what is the capacity of the bonding market and what's the duration of the bonding market. So, if we have 100,000 blue over the course of 2 months, that's like 1,500 blue per day, I think. 60, yeah, something like that. So if we sell more blue in the bonding market than like roughly 1,500 per day, that's going to make the price of the bond increase. And like the more ahead of schedule we are on selling out the bond market relative to how long the duration is, so 2 months, that the more the price is going to change. So the fact that we've sold like 4,300 on the first day, I'm guessing that discount should drop quite a bit once that recalibrates. Oh, actually, I didn't check if this is showing ETH properly here yet. It is not. All right, so I'll have to update, because if we've sold some of these, our treasury should have some ETH now, but I guess I wasn't able to test this, so I'll have to make sure ETH shows up there properly. I'll do that right after the AMA. Actually, something else I need to do is I'm going to update the homepage of the site, just to kind of talk about the fact that, G Blue is now bridgeable to Abstract, and just to kind of advertise it a little bit more, and like the reasons why you'd want to bridge your G Blue over to Abstract. I bought it. Very nice. Yeah, we've already got some more liquidity being added. Awesome stuff. Love to see it. All right, well, let's get those votes up. Let's try to get 10 million votes in. Let's build up that liquidity on Abstract so that people can, trade G Blue without, crazy price impact on Abstract and on Aborian. So let's all work together as a community, and there's really no limit to how far this can take the protocol. It's a really insane flywheel and cycle effect, right? G Blue is going to get more and more valuable, which in turn means blue is more and more valuable as there's more demand on it, which is going to happen with a high paying LP gauge, right? So the more votes we get on this, the more buy pressure blue is going to see, the more liquidity we're going to get on Aborian, the more fees we can generate, which in turn is going to get even more votes on the gauge for the following epoch. I'm going to be incentivizing this. Aborian protocol is going to be doing a lot of matching of incentives, which you can already see in there right now. So it creates a really strong cycle where we can earn on our blue without having to sell it, and earn ABX emissions, which you can cycle back into more and more voting power. And if at any point you decide you want to vote on something else, you can do that. Locked ABX is going to earn you a weekly paycheck for the rest of your life, or as long as Aborian's operating, which should be forever, as far as I know. So definitely great opportunity there. Nice chef's hat. Someone's cooking. Oh, I'm cooking hard today. Lots of cooking today. All right. Well, I think we've covered most everything, and I don't see any other questions rolling in. I'll give you guys another minute if anybody has any comments or questions for me. Or just, tell me what you think of this, right? Like, what do you think of what do you think of G Blue being bridgeable, and, G Blue being, a token that's earning you compounds on BNB chain, and now you can earn additionally, through Aborian with those same tokens. It's pretty exciting, if you ask me. Pretty exciting. And again, just the extra exposure that we're getting to, right? Like, Aborian has, I don't know, 30,000 holders of its token. Aborian has a huge audience. And if you just go to the voting page, well, look, we're number 3 in the list, right? This is going to get us huge exposure. On the liquidity page right now, again, because our big emissions are going to be coming next week, we're probably going to be in the top of this list, right? It depends on how much liquidity that we get, obviously, because if we get, a couple $100,000 of liquidity, the APR might not be like sky high, but either way, starting next week, we're going to be pretty high up in this list in terms of the APR. But yeah, I mean, we're already here, right? So it's already getting us some exposure there. Double dipping, let's go. Oh, and we got another surprise for the blue community too. We got something else. You know what I'm talking about. We can release that one soon. The kitchen's gonna be on fire. It is exciting. Yes, sir. Aborian will be massive in 26. Thanks for the airdrop, brother. Yeah, man. Aborian is gonna be crazy. It already is. I mean, once volume on Abstract picks back up, Aborian's going to new all-time highs. There's no question about it. Man, I should have purchased more blue. Hey, it's still cheap. It's not too late. Still a great time to buy it. You definitely didn't miss out. If we're back at $5, I'd say, you know what? Yeah, you probably should have bought some a little cheaper, but Coinbase announcement this month, I think it's going to be about the base eco. Yeah, exciting stuff. Yeah, I think 2020, for the rest of 2025, and I think in 2026, it's going to be a really volatile market, but I think we're likely to do quite well between now and the end of 2026 with a ton of volatility in between. But I think when it's all said and done, the markets will be in pretty good shape. I think it's a great idea. Exposure is key with this upcoming bull move. Yep, 100%. It's, and something that I've noticed about, our community is that, everyone likes clicking buttons. They like playing with things. They like, moving funds around and, earning in different ways. And like Aborian just like encompasses that so perfectly, right? There's so much that you can do in Aborian. There's a lot you can do with your locked ABX. There's stuff that you can do with unlocked ABX. Now there's a bunch of things you can do with G Blue between farming an LP pair or using it for incentives or arbitrage between the chains. And yeah, it gives our users a lot more to do and a whole extra dimension of use case for Blue. It's almost like this launch is more than just adding a utility for Blue. It's adding again, like a whole nother dimension of utilities. What do you guys think about the chef's hat? Gotta say, it was Nick's idea, and I was like, oh, chef's hat, yep, that. I was like, yep, let's do that. Definitely been cooking up real hard. But yeah, let's get that G Blue liquidity up. Let's get votes on the G Blue pair, and let's see what this is going to bring to all the blue, the loyal blue holders that have been holding on. Because I know what this can do. We just ideally got to work together as a community and get just get a lot of votes on the pair and get a lot of liquidity in there, and then let the team do our thing, spreading the word and getting the word out to everybody on Abstract and a lot of the Aborian users, and yeah, it's going to be very bullish times ahead. Loving the hat. Let's go. Might have to wear it every AMA coming up. What's the site for bridging relay site? Relay.link. I'll post it in the chat again. So again, you can use this to get say BNB to Abstract ETH, Abstract USDC, whatever you want to do. Right. So, and it supports a lot of chains. It even supports Solana, supports all kinds of stuff. And it's instant. So. Yeah, I got no complaints using Relay. Super fast. All right, guys. I think we've covered everything. I'm sure there's probably a couple things that I've missed, but we can always cover that in the Telegram, and you guys can expect some announcements. We're going to be making a couple announcements. Just talking about G Blue and kind of just making some posts that are going to be great posts for others to share and quote, retweet, and stuff like that. So expect a couple of big announcements coming out very soon that we will use to really spread the word. But I mean, you guys heard it first. Hope you guys are as pumped about this as I am. And yeah, let's build up our presence on Abstract, and we can all start earning some great rewards starting next week. I mean, there's still some ABX to be earned this week, but just remember, if you see the APR is low this week, there was only 200,000 votes on it before the epoch flipped. So, already we're at 5 times that, I think. Yeah, we're already over 5 times the amount of votes, and this is going to keep climbing. So just keep that in mind. Don't get discouraged if you're getting, low emissions this week. Do you lose your G Blue in the LP? I mean, it's just like any V2 style LP. So if you're in the LP and the price of blue skyrockets, you're going to have a lot less G Blue. Meaning, are people buying your G Blue? Yeah. So, I mean, that's the whole beauty of the Aborian flywheel, right? Is that we can incentivize people to provide liquidity, and largely that's going to be a lot of our community that's providing liquidity in exchange for ABX emissions, which is what's going to make it tradable on Abstract. And yeah, so you will lose some G Blue when the price of blue and G Blue increases. But again, the emissions should make up for it. And, it's overall your LP is going to gain value when that happens, right? For example, if the ETH price stays stable and the G Blue price increases, the overall value of each LP token is going to increase. So you still are increasing the value of your position while you're claiming emissions as well. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole impermanent loss conversation, I guess. All right, guys. Well, yeah, watch out for some announcements coming up very shortly. And yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come. And let's get our presence on Abstract and Aborian as explosive as we can. Let's get some votes on the gauge, and let's get some liquidity added to the pair. And we'll have a real exciting week next week once those higher emissions kick in. So for next week's AMA, obviously we'll have at the usual time, the emissions, the Aborian epoch will have been live for 18 hours when we have our AMA next week. So make sure you guys have your LPs created. Make sure your LP is staked before that time, right? Because if you wait for me to have the AMA and tell you guys, then at that point, you will have missed the first 18 hours of the big emissions. Do we need to vote every week for rewards? Great question. So when you vote, if you don't want to like change your vote to something else, you can just leave it alone. It will keep your vote the same if you don't change it. There's some things that you might need to do in the protocol, depending on what you're trying to do, that might require you to like reset your votes. So for example, if you want to like start merging your locks together, you can't have active votes when you're doing that. So you have to like reset your votes, and then you'd have to like re-vote on whatever you want to vote on. So, I mean, if you're not doing anything like that, then you can just vote once and just leave it, and you'll get your rewards every week without having to replace your vote. I mean, if you just want to change your vote, you don't even have to reset vote, right? Like, so I've already voted this week, so now I can't do anything with these. But if we're in the next epoch, I could just take this lock and vote on something different if I wanted to, or I could do nothing. The chain is abstract to bridge 2. Yep. The green chain. Yeah, I hope that answered your question, Fiat. I mean, just to reiterate, so basically you don't need to vote every week if you want to keep your vote the same. Actually, I guess I'll put the Aborian site in the chat as well, in case anybody doesn't have that. And let's throw the bridge in the chat as well. And relay. I know I've already posted that before, but let's get all of our links together in one place. All right, guys. So yeah, I've got a couple more small updates to the Blue website just to kind of explain the opportunities on Abstract a bit better. And I think also like, we need to target guys that are on Abstract that might see like the G Blue token on Aborian and they want to learn more about it. We've got to make it so it's really easy for them to like understand what G Blue is all about and how they can take advantage of the earning opportunities, right? So, or like how to arb between the prices and stuff like that. So yeah, some updates are coming to the Blue website to kind of explain things a little bit better. And I think that's going to also include an update to the homepage just to kind of mention being live on Abstract. And yeah, and a couple announcements we'll be putting out shortly after we conclude the AMA. I probably should call it now. I feel like I just keep repeating myself. So I'll give it a couple seconds to see if anybody else has any other questions or comments. So, I mean, I guess the one final thing I'll conclude with is massive new opportunity having G Blue available on Abstract and fully integrated into Aborian. This week is basically our setup week where we want to get as much votes on the gauge as we possibly can. We want to get as much liquidity set up on Abstract as we can. And the real fun is going to start next week once those high emissions kick in for the pair. So yeah, it's time to position. It's time to acquire as much Blue as you can. And yeah, just getting set up for big things. Thank you, Aaron, for all you do. You bet, my man. It's fun building this stuff out. And I'm super pumped to see what this is going to do for the Blue protocol and ecosystem. Should start seeing some results, I think, in the very near future. All right, guys, I think we'll call it there. If you have any questions that you missed and weren't able to ask, be sure to tag me in the Telegram or ask in the Telegram, and myself or someone else will be happy to help and answer. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys all next week. And yeah, look out for some announcements coming up shortly after the AMA. See you guys.